What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Burndown YouTube channel. I snuck the camera out here because I did get a little bit of work done. Instead of cleaning up, I figured I would film and show you guys. So we finagled the tunnel even a little more. So let me show you that real quick, and then I got some other news we can kind of go over and kill two birds with one stone. We'll do like a talking head video slash look what Dane did this evening. So ta-da! Basically all I did was I had the flat strap. If you watched the last video, I squared this edge up with that big magnet to kind of make it a 90 off of here and here. Then I went inside and scribed with a marker, pulled the panel back out, and then it's not 100% straight. We did all this by hand. You guys have seen me beat, you know, an edge by hand, but the difference here is I put a bunch of little slits in it. So that way this would bend, because if you put a 90-degree break on this thing would be a straight board and you wouldn't be able to get it back in. Those of you that know metalwork are going, hey, why didn't you shrink that edge, Dane? Well, I can do that. I do have a shrinker stretcher. All my equipment is buried in junk because I've been terribly busy, so we got the shrinker over there, and I got a sweet bead roller. So technically, if I had a bit more time, and I was really trying to do a really finished, nice, bang-up job, we could bead roll this thing. I could have broke that edge, and then you shrink it, and then I have the inner panel, so I could have shrunk it to that panel and made it really, you know, killer. But this is another way to get around doing that, and I figure a lot of you guys don't have those tools. So what you do is you scribe your line, and then you just make a bunch of little slits. I just eyeballed those, so they're not, if you really want to get technical, you could go like every inch or inch and a half depending on the radius, and then you just cut it, so you gotta leave some overhang, and then you fold it down, you know, you whack it like I showed you guys a million times. You put your dolly in your hammer and beat it until it shapes, you know, 90 degrees, and then Bob's your uncle. So let me show you, this is essentially what we kind of look like. Before we had all the overhang and it was ugly, so the fit is good. We trimmed it up a little bit more. Hopefully you guys are catching this on the old Go Prizzle. And then the fit, I'm pretty happy with it. We got a bit of a gap over here, but I figured I'll just patch that in. It's on the fender side. But for the most part, you know, for what we're trying to do, we look good. So we got the gap's a little bigger up here, but heck, it ain't even really that bad. Probably can't even see it because the sun's going down, but I'm happy with the fit on that. So I'm hoping it's late in the week. Tomorrow we will come out and I'll clean stuff up, namely anywhere where it's gonna like weld, you know, like all this junk. We'll run a marker, get stuff kind of cleaned up. I cleaned up a little bit on that edge and whatnot, but we'll make sure we're cleaned up enough, and anywhere where we need to stick it, we'll be able to stick that bad boy on there. And then I think before we even get that crazy, maybe what we'll do is clean it up really good, and I'll stick it in a few areas so it's taut, like it's where it's gonna kind of live, and we'll stuff a tire on there and jack it up, make sure we're not touching, that we still have ample room before we get too froggy and weld it in, because I could grind off a few tacks. I don't want to cut this thing out that I just spent way too much time making. But other than that, on a side note, I did take a mini tour of Scat Manufacturing, so thank you again to Scat for allowing me to come down there. I went and picked my crank up. They called me and I immediately went over there, and then I took everything over to the machine shop that I use in LA. So we have a Scat 4-inch stroked crank. We have the Scat H-beam Pro rod, like the best H-beam rod they make, with the ARP 2000 bolts, courtesy of Scat Manufacturing, so thank you guys very much. I've got a Molly Pro Pack piston pack for the 4-inch stroke on that crank, so it's a special piston to go with it's a 6125, so it's a standard rod, and they moved the pin height, I believe, so it doesn't pop out of the deck height on the block. And if I'm saying that wrong, you guys feel free to correct me, because I'm not some super duper engine builder. But we got all of that done over to the machine shop, and then when I got there, I got word that the aluminum block that I got for $100, believe it or not, it was $100. It's the block on the inside was broken. I don't know if I took pictures or showed you guys, but it looked like it came apart. It was a Gen 4, so it was LS2, and something came apart and it broke, and it broke a piece of the block off where it supports the sleeve that comes in on the bottom, like inside the motor. It was sleeve 7 or 8, and it chipped a piece off, but it didn't look like it cracked and kept beating it up like it just hit it and knocked a piece off. So I got it cheap. We took it in, they pressure tested it, the water jackets essentially, because that was the concern. and it didn't leak. He said the thing was good, so he's gonna double check the thing for me. But we're gonna have an aluminum 6-liter, which is way more motor than I thought that we'd need for a little pacer. But hell, you know, if you got it, you might as well roll with it, right? So that is good. And then I reached out to War Performance. So if you guys don't know, they carry pretty much like everything LS motor, right? So they have problem solving stuff, but they also have your engine components. So I reached out to them and I got all my bearings. I ordered those. So they have all the bearings. They had them in stock. Mine were standard. They make different size bearings, you know, for your needs. Obviously, all my stuff is fresh and ready to rock and roll. So thank you to War Performance for taking care of me and ordering that. So as soon as those come in, we'll take all that to the machine shop. And then I'm hoping, because I have a good relationship with the machine shop that I use, and I'm hoping that I kind of told them that we want to be racing or putting this thing hopefully back together early next year. The goal is to have it at least shaken down a bit, and then I want to take it to LS Fest West. We're going to run it there. I have a couple sponsors. So War Performance will be at LS Fest West. Scat Manufacturing, I talked to them. They said they're going to be there. So if they're going to be there, maybe we'll put the car in the booth when it's on its downtime, when I don't have to run it. I don't think I can really move the RV as easily. So we'll put this kind of front and center wherever their booth is possibly. And you guys can come by and say hi and check it out and see what we did. But I think we're going to run this there. And then the goal is to get it in fighting shape for Rocky Mountain Racing 1.0. And I gotta try to get my way in. So if we can't do that, we'll kind of figure out the ladder and see what we can do. But we need to take this out. That's the goal. That is the hope. So we'll get this thing hopefully wrapped up. Maybe this weekend, if I have a bit of time, we can start on the other wheel tub. But we're getting close to buttoning the rear end of this thing up. I'll have to do some bracing, and I'll have to do a firewall because my fuel cell is back here. So that is that. We're gonna keep rolling. I gotta clean up. It's getting dark. You guys know what to do. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for supporting. Thank you to all the sponsors. Till next time, I'm out.